Hello friends, and happy springtime. I am so thrilled and excited. I feel like I'm coming back to life as the days get longer and they start to feel warmer. You can walk outside and hear birds singing. If you look closely at the ground, you can see green grass starting to grow again. If you look at the trees, you can see that the buds are starting to swell. It's just such an exciting time to watch the world kind of wake up from the winter slumber. And I am loving every single second of it and doing everything that I can to just romanticize it as much as possible. One of the ways that I love to romanticize the seasons the most is by reading books that fit that season. And every 3 months, I get so excited that I get to shift into a whole new aesthetic of reading. And I am so particularly excited about this upcoming spring and the books that I bought that I wanted to share them with you and show you what it is that I'm going to be reading this spring. I also did one of these videos last year, which I will link up above and probably down below, so that if you want to go see some other spring book recommendations, you can. The way that I do these are books that I haven't read yet and that I'm going to be reading, so I can't give them my full endorsement that they're going to be really great and fantastic and wonderful, but this year I am going to be sharing 3 books that I read last year that I absolutely love. They were my top 3 favorite books that I read last spring, and I am giving them my full endorsement recommendation. Absolutely, if you like the aesthetic of springtime books, you will like these 3 books that I share at the end. So stick around for that. All right, we are gonna get started with the books that I have just purchased for this year, or maybe have been saving for a little while for this particular springtime reading. And I am very excited to share these with you. We're gonna start off with Agatha Christie's Sinister Spring. And this is a collection of short stories. There's actually 4/5 of these kinds of collections that I was able to find, and this is actually the last one that I have read. So last summer I found the Midsummer Mysteries, and then found Autumn Chills, and then maybe it was Midwinter Mysteries. Anyway, I have read all of the seasonal books for this, including the Christmas one, and I have to say I really did enjoy all of them. Absolutely loved this one. I did already read this one, and also this version of it is just so pretty. It's hardback, and I just love it. I love the gold foil, and I just think it's pretty. And all of the books actually have this very similar design, just with different seasons, which is kind of fun for, if nothing else, decorating your shelf. So the rest of the books are actually going to be divided into 2 categories, and these are just my own categories that I kind of made up while I was shopping actually for these books. And so the first category we're going to be looking at is books that I think of as being the cottagecore aesthetic, and then the second category we're going to look at is going to be more of the Regency, romance, Jane Austen inspired, Bridgerton-esque kind of books. So let's jump right into the cottagecore novels. Oh yeah, there they are. So in no particular order, we're gonna get started with the cottagecore aesthetic kind of books. So the first one is Anne of Green Gables. This is actually Anne of the Island, because for the last few years I've been slowly making my way through the entire Anne of Green Gables series, and this year was Anne of the Island. In my video from last year, I also probably mentioned that I was reading one of the Anne of Green Gables, the Anne of Avonlea, and I have to say, This one so far is a contender for my favorite Anne of Green Gables novel. I loved Anne of the Island. It was so good, and just still seeing that character Anne that we love, but watching her start to mature. We watch her go to college, university, and kind of her learning, her expanding her friendship circles. We also see some loss, and then also some romance, which I really, really enjoyed, appreciated, and loved out of this story. And yes, I have read this one. You're gonna see when we shift from the ones I have read to the ones I haven't read, but I did read this one already this year, and I absolutely loved Anne of the Island. Like I said, contender for new favorite Anne of Green Gables book. I feel like that's a big deal. All right, these next ones I haven't read, so that's where we're sitting. The next cottagecore aesthetic book that I bought to read this spring is The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. Now, I have seen this recommended on different social media sites, on Goodreads, and I also had a coworker this past Christmas tell me that she was reading this book and that she was loving it. I am very, very excited. It's giving spring witch cottagecore vibes, and I'm really very hopeful for, just because of how beautiful the aesthetic is. The cover honestly is giving me like witchy secret garden vibes, and oh, I'm so excited to read this one. So if you've read The Honey Witch, let me know down below if you loved it, or if you didn't. And I'm very, very excited to read this, and I will let you know if I enjoy it. This next book was recommended by one of my favorite booktubers, YouTubers, Darling Desi. I don't know much about this book, but she recommended it, and I trust almost every single one of her recommendations so far. So this is Flower Heart. I'm very, very excited. It almost looks like an anime kind of, and again, it's giving like witchy, like apothecary kind of vibes. And also it looks like there's gonna be some romance, which I just love. Like spring, summer, such a good time for those romancy vibes. Everything in the world feels like it's falling in love. And so I'm very, very excited for this one. The cover says, a power she can't control, a curse she can't undo, a boy she can't forget. And I'm very excited. Let me know down below if you have read any of these books. I will just blanket that right now, but if you've read Flower Heart. This next one was recommended to me by someone working in my local bookstore, which made me feel so excited because I love getting recommendations from bookstore workers, and she recommended Anne of Greenville. And so this is a more modern retelling of Anne of Green Gables. And even just like looking at the back, like when I read the back, I was like, oh, absolutely, this is amazing. I also love that it's giving like 70s vibes on the front with like the disco balls and the rollerblades, and like her outfit is so cute. And so I'm very, very excited. Like I said, I only have been reading Anne of Green Gables these last few years, so I'm actually very, I keep saying I'm very excited, so I'm trying to think of a different word, but I'm highly anticipating jumping into this alternate storytelling and seeing if Mariko Tamaki, if I'm saying that correctly, I hope I am. Apologies if I am not. Seeing how that writing comes to life and creates a character similar to Anne of Green Gables and sort of tells that retelling in a more modern way. We've got two more cottagecore books, and the first one is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is another one I feel like I have been seeing everywhere. I know that it was either the second or third book of this series just came out, and so when I went into the bookstore for my spring reading, I said, point me to the Emily Wilde, the very first one in that series. And so I'm very excited. The cover, just by itself, is so beautiful. Like, again, those witchy cottagecore vibes, the mushrooms on the bottom. I'm just so excited to jump into this one, and I just think like an encyclopedia of fairies absolutely yes please. Like, that just sounds so fun. Just to clarify, it is a novel. It is not supposed to be like an encyclopedia. It is a novel telling of Emily Wilde, who is a character. This book was written by Heather Fawcett. As far as I know, this one does not have any romance in it. I see her dog and the fairy folk. So this one, an academic rival. So it looks like there is some rivals to lovers romance happening in this story. So apparently that's a little bit of a theme in my spring this year, is some romantic cottagecore and Regency romance books. But I'm very, very excited for this one, and I will let you know if I love it. The last cottagecore book that really caught my eye, that I actually haven't seen anywhere, but just when I saw it in the bookstore and read the back of it, instantly I put it in my cart. So let me read to you the sentence that made me put it in my cart. This is in the middle of the back of the book. I'm not reading the whole back, but unable to part with her grandmother's cherished books, Jess packs them all up and moves to a tiny cottage in the English countryside. So it is about Jess, who her grandmother has just passed, and as she's processing this and going through this grief, her grandmother leaves her this whole collection of books. And so she takes all of these books, packs them up, moves to the English countryside to live in a cottage, and inherits a telephone booth that becomes a little library, like the ones that we see when we're driving around. At least in the States, we have the little libraries that are take a book, leave a book. And so I'm assuming that that's kind of the inspiration for this. Additionally, what caught my eye about this book is this cover. If you look very closely, you can see different titles of actual books, and this cover art is just so amazing. I cannot get over it. It's incredible. I love it. I'm so excited to read The Littlest Library this spring. Alright, so that is it for the cottagecore aesthetic books for this book haul, but don't go anywhere yet because we're getting into the second category, which is the Regency romance spring books. And this is the stack. Alright, so we're going to start with our Regency romance stack of books, and we're going to start with An Improbable Season by Rosalind Eves. I think I'm saying that right. I feel pretty confident about that author. And this is one I am currently reading. I'm about halfway through it, and I am eating it up. I'm loving this story. I think it was in my burnout video, one of the little quotes says, I adored every page. It was Little Women meets Pride and Prejudice romance that charmed and entertained. I mean, Little Women and Pride and Prejudice, what more can you ask for? What more can you ask for? Like, it sounds so perfect, and I have to say, being halfway through the book, that's exactly what it's giving. That is exactly how I would describe it. It is about two sisters and their cousin who go to London for their first season to join the wedding market, and they all have very different ambitions and hopes for what the season is going to bring. And within the first 50 pages, things go awry, and their plans all kind of come apart pretty quickly, and they're all trying to find ways to kind of manage their season and still have their hopes and dreams come true and potentially find love if that's what it is that they're looking for. So these next Regency romance books are ones that I haven't read yet. The first of those is The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels, and I know it has a rip. It came that way, and we're just gonna pretend that it's not there. We're just gonna pretend it's not there. Okay. The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels is one that I've actually seen recommended a few different places. First of all, this cover, I love. I'm in love with this cover. I love the colors, and I love how springy and Regency-esque it is. I'm so excited. This story, as far as I know, is about a Victorian woman who is part of a crime, like sorority basically, in Victorian London. And oh my gosh, how exciting. Oh, it's giving enemies to lovers. So Ned is an assassin who has been ordered to kill her, but he is smitten with her. He is head over heels. So I'm very, very excited to see how this goes. Again, I've seen this recommended a few different places, so I'm excited to jump in and see if it lives up to the hype. So that was The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. This next one I'm so excited for, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to talk about it. This is The Worst Duke in London by Amelie Howard. I'm hoping I said that right. And it is giving 10 Things I Hate About You, Regency romance. Now, if you know, 10 Things I Hate About You is based off of Taming of the Shrew by Shakespeare. So I'm guessing that that's probably more the inspiration for this, but for my generation, it's more commonly known what the story of 10 Things I Hate About You is, and that's what it's giving. Even the cover, even the characters, how they look, is giving 10 Things I Hate About You, Heath Ledger, and I can't remember her name. I know her name in the story is Kat. A Regency romance, Taming of the Shrew, which is the same as 10 Things I Hate About You, and I am so excited to read this. I can't even talk about how excited I am to get into this one, because I'm so excited. I love 10 Things I Hate About You, and a Regency version of that sounds impeccable and incredible, and I'm so excited for this one. This next one is another one that I have actually seen a few different places recommended about Regency romance, and I did not realize that it was not connected to Bridgerton until I was in the bookstore, and that is Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. All that I know about this is it is similar to Bridgerton. It's highly recommended if you like Bridgerton, which I did read Bridgerton last year. I read The Duke and I, is that what it's called? I think that's the first one. I read Daphne's story, and I did really like it. And so I am really excited to jump into another Regency romance that is similar to Bridgerton. Female main character is one of the first female students at Oxford University. So I'm also very excited about like that kind of more academic approach and like women in STEM kind of vibe of like women actually being allowed to get an education, and also like that being the female main character's drive, but also being able to see her like fall in love, because I think both can exist. I think you can have academic drive and also fall in love, because I did. The last book on this book haul I'm very excited for. This author has been one that I have looked for in several bookstores and have had a hard time finding her books for some reason. I think I don't know, I just haven't been able to find it. So I just wanted a Georgette Hare book. I was very excited to read Georgette Hare again. Darling Desi on YouTube raves about her and talks about how incredible she is, and I really, really wanted to give her a shot and give it a try because I love Jane Austen. I've read every single Jane Austen book, and so I'm very excited to read These Old Shades by Georgette Hare this spring and summer and see if she lives up to the hype. That is the end of the spring haul books that were newer for this spring, and now I'm going to dive into my top 3 favorite books from last year that I fully endorse and recommend if you are into the cottagecore, witchy, spring, Regency romance aesthetic. The first of these books is The Bird Cottage. This book is incredible. I can't even put into words. There's not much of like a plot of things happening. It is really just a novel inspired by this real woman, Len Howard, there she is, who lived in a cottage by herself so that she could study birds, and just her observations and her interactions that she wrote in these journals. But then Eva Major, hopefully I'm saying that right, put those into novel form. I got to the end of the book and was like, it just felt so real. And then I realized that it was based off of the life of a real woman who studied the behavior of birds in such a unique way. She didn't want to study them in a lab. She wanted to see them in their natural element. And so she adapted her life to be able to exist within their world. And I loved this story. It felt like listening to birds sing the whole time I was reading it. It was just so beautiful. This next book is one that also leans a little bit into that witchier side of the cottagecore aesthetic, and that is Wayward. This one I will give a trigger warning for sexual assault. I think that the way that it was done was, in my opinion, it was done in a way that both served the plot and also was not overly graphic of what was happening. So if that is a trigger for you, definitely make sure that you are checking online for more specific details and also taking care of yourself when you potentially get to that part of the book. This book gave witchy, cottagecore, multi-generational trauma, female rage. It was incredible. It is written from 3 different time period perspectives, so 2019, 1619, and 1942, so very vastly different things happening, but they all talk about the oppression of women and women being able to make choices for themselves and being called witches, but wanting to just exist in a cottagecore aesthetic life. And the way that all of the stories were connected was so beautifully done, and just I feel like I learned a lot about myself reading this book, and just just beautiful. And so this is Wayward by Amelia Hart. The third book that I am going to recommend from my reading last year is what made me want to really get into reading Regency romance novels, and that is Edenbrook. This is another one that I don't know if I can put into words how much I loved reading this book last year. The tension and chemistry between the female main character and the male main character was so well done. Like, laying on the couch, kicking my feet, giggling and screaming every time they were interacting with each other because of just the flirting and how cute it was and how wholesome it felt, but also the writing of the setting in Regency, and just I loved this book. I don't think I can recommend this enough. If you are interested in like Bridgerton, but you don't want any spice, right here. This is no spice, closed door, but the tension and the romance and the wholesome, like, developing a relationship, like, it's so good. It's so incredible that I'm at a loss for words because I just want to tell you exactly about the story, but I want you to read it so that you can go enjoy it. So, if you're interested in Regency romance at all, even just like a little, even if you're just interested like a little teen, like a hair now, this book right here. Read this book. It's so good. Edenbrook is so good. Those are my 3 recommendations from last year's reading. So that was The Bird Cottage, Wayward, and Edenbrook by Julianne Donaldson. These were my 3 favorite books that I read last spring, and yeah, I hope that you have either read these and would love to chat with you in the comments about them, or are interested in reading them and head to your local bookstore and get them. Okay friends, that wraps up my 2025 spring book haul. Thank you all so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. Friends, I hope that you are enjoying spring. We're doing your best to make sure you find some time to get outside today, drink a little extra water, take care of yourself. I'm sending so much love to every single one of you, and I will see you very soon with more spring content. Bye! This is literally a bag of books. Whoop.